Today, we're talking about what I like to term the hybrid positions on BYU's defense. They are kind of safety, linebacker type roles where these guys are brought in to counter the spread offenses of the football world right now. When you go 4 and 5 wide receivers, that's when these guys are called upon. And this year, funny enough, BYU's depth chart does not have near the amount of hybrids it had a year ago, and they may add these later on when the new training camp roster / depth chart comes out. But currently, I'm only seeing 2 of the hybrid positions on there, and we'll talk about those 2 today in particular. They are what they call the flash position in BYU's defense, as well as the Cinco position. The flash position is probably the more traditional linebacker hybrid role for BYU's defense. They are considered to be, I guess, a strong side linebacker in a way, but they have to have the ability to both play in coverage and also come up and help in the run. And that is where Chaz factors into all of this conversation. Some of you, when we talked about safeties a while back and also cornerbacks, said, well, what about Chaz, Jake? Chaz is listed as a linebacker on BYU's roster, and he's going to fill that flash linebacker role for BYU. They have him listed with an or next to him in a position battle as a co-starter alongside Max Tooley at that flash position. The good news is both of these players, very similar in skill set, very similar in size. There should be little to no drop-off, whoever plays in that spot. You have a guy like Chaz listed at 6'2", 212 pounds. As a senior, he is trying to make good on his final year in a BYU uniform. He got injured last year. The hope is he can stay healthy this year and have a breakout campaign as a senior. Whereas Max Tooley, 6'2", 215. He's a little thicker just by a slim margin than Chaz. And the thing is, Max Tooley is just as good of an athlete, I feel like, as Chaz. That's nothing against Chaz. They're both phenomenal athletes. The nice part is both of these guys figure to be very prominent in BYU's defense this year, especially considering they're playing the position that now NFL linebacker star Fred Warner is playing. And by the way, congratulations to Fred on the NFL front. Rated as the top linebacker in Madden 23 with a 94 rating. That is absolutely incredible to think about him going from BYU playing that flash linebacker position to being maybe the best, according to Madden, the best middle linebacker in the NFL. But that's what a guy like Chaz and or Max Tooley have got to think. That's the framework of what they're going after. Now, Fred Warner is a different type of player. He played at BYU at 6'4", 225 pounds, ran like a gazelle. They are not the same size, speaking of Chaz and Max Tooley, but they have the capability of being very good in this role because they are going to be very important in keeping BYU's defense off the field. They have to get these 3 and outs. They got to force punts. Well, the flash position, it's so useful to BYU to have them walk up. Say Chaz walks up to the defensive line, acts like he's blitzing, and then drops off and covers a slot receiver in space. That versatility is something that BYU's defense absolutely needs to take advantage of. The other guy on this list is Morgan Piper, who's listed as the backup at the flash position. He is 6'2", 220. Piper, a former safety who's bulked up to play the linebacker spots, those hybrid spots. He figures to play a prominent role on special teams and probably in a reserve role in these spots as well. Now let's flip over and talk a little bit about the Cinco position. I said the flash position was more of a linebacker / safety hybrid position. The Cinco is a safety / linebacker hybrid. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But George Udo factors in here as the starter. He's listed at the start at the Cinco position at 6'1", 200-pound junior. And Udo, when he's healthy, he is just as good as a guy like Chaz with his versatility. He's got the ability to cover receivers and tight ends in space, but he's also got the ability to come off the edge. He had 3 sacks during the 2020 season. This is a guy, his versatility was missed on last year's defense as he came back from a torn ACL suffered late in that 2020 campaign. Matt Criddle is listed as his backup as a redshirt senior, 6'1", 195 pounds. I talked about Criddle in our safety position preview. Both of you guys actually talked about. They're both guys that I think are dependable. I think George Udo is far and away the better athlete. That is why he's listed as the starter. Matt Criddle is more of the steady Eddie, a guy that you can rely on. You know he's going to be in the right spot. He may not make the highlight reel play, but he makes the safe play more often than not. That's where George Udo kind of stands apart, is his ability. He's got all the foot speed in the world. I had people telling me he could run in the 4.4s at 200 plus pounds. That's pretty impressive, especially when you watch George Udo. He looks like he weighs 220 pounds. He is just an absolutely built athlete. He's just genetically gifted. There is no doubt about it. But the nice part is in both of these positions, whether it's the flash or the Cinco, you've got very good athletes. Chaz Ayu, Max Tooley, and George Udo, those three alone, I think are some of the best athletes across BYU's entire defense. And we'll talk about guys like Keenan Peely and Peyton Wilgar here in a couple of days when we talk about the more traditional linebacker spots for BYU. But these flash positions, when teams are going with those 4 and 5 wideout sets and they are trying to spread you out, make the field as wide as possible, and just make you stress as a defensive coordinator, having the versatility of a Chaz Ayu, a Max Tooley, a George Udo gives you peace of mind if you're a guy like Kalani Sitake and or Elisa Tuiaki, knowing that, hey, we have all these guys at our disposal. The injuries to guys like Chaz Ayu, Max Tooley was dinged up at one point last year, George Udo missed most of the season last year. Losing them hurt BYU's defense in numerous ways. Obviously, the defensive line had its own issues. The traditional linebacker spots, losing Keenan Peely as well as Peyton Wilgar didn't help. But having these guys back healthy, and you got to get them through the season healthy, will make BYU's defense that much better. I'm actually expecting BYU's defense to rebound it to a degree this year, simply due to the fact that they have more healthy bodies than they had last year, especially down the stretch. And that's easy for me to say, let me be very frank. But the nice part is when you have guys like a Chaz Ayu who are available, I say it all the time, the best ability is availability. When he's available, he makes your defense that much more hard to prepare for. They're versatile. You don't know what he's going to do on any given play. He can come up and play the run. He can rush the passer. He can drop into coverage. There's so many things. The versatility these positions offer to BYU's defense, and I, for one, cannot wait to see these guys healthy on the field once again in training camp, and hoping to see them obviously show it on the field this fall when they finally get out there to Lavelle Edwards Stadium and also out on those road games as well.